We're just listening to it now.
Either or.
Pardon?
No, but you said filming us. Not us.
Not you guys.
Oh, I thought you said I don't know whether to play the video or do the
Start it.
start.
You guys start the video and forget about it. When I do this,
You
you normally have someone does that, someone does the video.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll send you the link so you can see some of the older ones, because Aaron's done
I did
some.
have a look at one of your older ones, but not the whole
Right.
thing, because it was
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, they have. Well, Aaron and bloody hell.
No. I must. Whether it is late.
No, well, once we've done it for a couple of weeks, that's when we get into the.
Yeah, okay.
No chat chats tonight.
We can do them anyway.
Yeah.
Well, right.
Got a book. That's all right, sit down over there. It's all your book. You'll only need it as a reference. Because my old one was used that as a reference. And well done for getting there.
Sorry, I'm a bit late.
That's all right.
We'll remember next week.
They wrote your name down. So. Keep looking at these silly bits of paper. Obviously, I'm a bit nervous. Okay, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
right. Welcome to the workshop. This is the workshop in Bath. First time I'm doing it here. I'll tell you a little bit. I'll try and keep it as simple as possible. If you think I'm going on,
We'll just wave it out.
yeah, you can do jazz hands if you want, but okay. To give you a little bit of history with this, okay? With the workshop, we first attempted these workshops about 10 years ago, and it started off. I'd done many book studies, and I'd gone through the steps many times of the mothership, you know, the AA, and learned some stuff. But one of the major things that I learned with a lot of people there was that a lot of people were wanting to use it verbatim as opposed to getting what actually works. So what would happen was I was doing some of these workshops early on, and it didn't help my development and recovery. What was happening with people was they were learning to quote lines, but the sounding really good is not recovery, is it? You know, there's loads of people who sound really, really well, and then get in the car with them afterwards, and you realise they're an absolute lunatic. it's something slightly different. So when we first originally tried this book study out, what happened was a sponsee of mine had 3 sponsees, and he wanted to kind of take them all through basic text first, because the way I've learned to do recovery was you go through the basic text, and when you've gone through the basic text, you then use the directions book, which is It Works How and Why, in accompaniment with the step working guide. If you read the forwards in it, they tell you that's what you do, you marry the two together. But with the first book, which is the basic text, is the main thing about the basic text being is a textbook is a book that you study, because students use a textbook. So to start off with learning to study the basic text, I like taking jackets off. Just to give an example, a lot of people are daunted when they first come across the basic text. Now, this is how big the actual basic text is. It's that. And I got on that when I first saw the Italian version, because in the Italian version they don't have any stories in the back of the basic text. What we're looking at doing, so it's not very much at all, and what we're looking at doing, or what I'm going to show you guys, is one is living the programme, which is something to do later, which is only 8 pages, and then if we look at the steps up to what can I do, it's basically that. So just one of the major things around showing people is there's not much to the basic text. So I try not to scare people off, because a lot of people get really kind of, when you show it to new people, they get a little bit threatened by it. Now, when the basic text was first made, this is what I learned from my grand sponsor, who's now dead. His story's in this book. His story is, I found the only NA meeting in the world. If you're a geek like me, what you would know is that the story I found the only NA meeting in the world would be in your 3rd edition, and it's in every single edition, but in Narcotics Anonymous we don't say have like a Bill story. It's the equivalent to Bill's story in NA, of Bob B, who's one of the founders. And the other thing, when they were putting the book together, what they did was, because up until 1980, nearly everybody in Narcotics Anonymous who worked the steps, they worked from the AA book, because they didn't have any literature. They had a little white booklet with some readings on, but they didn't have any literature. So what they did in NA was they put it out to all the groups that were present at the time. I can't remember the number of how many groups there were, and they asked all the groups to send in suggestions of what works. So when they, after a period, I think it was about 6 months, the World Service Office got loads and loads and loads of sheets of paper back from all the groups of what works. And then they wanted to make it into the basic text and make a textbook out of it. Well, what they then did, because you'll hear some of the older members go on about this, what they then did, let me finish dialogue and I'll answer. What they then did was they got somebody who was an editor, who was not NA, or who they called a special worker, to come in and edit and put it all together, to which we now have as the basic text. That's why sometimes on some of the really old sharers, you'll hear them say, it works how and why, a book written by addicts, made by addicts. For the simple reason being is when all the suggestions came back from all the groups of what works, they had to get an outside agency to stick it together. Now, part of the reason when you read the basic text is it's backwards. There's some stuff that doesn't make sense, that's why it's quite hard. You'll read through some of the steps, and some of the stuff they should be telling you at the beginning, they've put in the last couple of paragraphs on the side. So it can be confusing. That's because they call it the cut and paste in America, because they had to cut different sections out and try and make it all sound like as if it flowed, which must have been some job.
I just wanted to know what pages it was, the exact pages of basic text.
What? Well, if you look from step 1,
Yeah.
which is, and then if you take it up to what can I do, it's basically that. So
page 23, 55, yeah?
From how it works, what we're looking at is the program, how it works, up to what can I do. And that's where the dilemma arises. Not too possible outcomes, not a dilemma. That's where the problem comes up with the basic text, is because when they first, we'll get to that, when we first got to writing the basic text, the first piece that we should actually read when we're newcomers is the section, what can I do?
Is this mind hacking?
Yeah.
Like mind.
Yeah. But they've actually put what can I do after the steps. And it doesn't make much sense, because what can I do is the direction of what to do. So that's a part of a bit of the struggle with the basic text. So what we're basically doing is breaking it down, and this week what I'd like to do is start by explaining some of the stuff we're actually doing. Have we long touch now? Right. that's a little bit of the history done.
Of course, yeah, tell us about it. I've got 4 in this one.
Hey. Okay. Now, to get into it, and to just give you guys, that's a little bit of the history of around how the basic text came together. And to finish off what I was saying, Archie started taking some responses through it from the way I'd learnt off this guy from AA. We changed it slightly because we realised there was some stuff that had been missed out. Our sponsorship group grew larger, and we then started about 10 years ago doing around different people's houses, 8 of us, and then there was 10 of us, and then there was 15 of us doing this. And then in the end we ended up hiring a place in Red Lion Square because there was about 20 of us doing it. Because what was happening was it was starting to become apparent that by doing this, going through the book, what was happening was people were starting to get a different attitude on meetings and a different outlook. Now, you talk about London at the time, which has 300 meetings, and if you're in London and you're going to a meeting, you think, fuck me, I don't want to go to another one of them NA meetings, I'm sick of it, that geezer sharing and fucking off out the room, I'm sick of the person who comes running in late and just blurts all their stuff out and so on. What started to happen was people were getting together with themselves and doing this and going through the basic text, because in the basic text what we're going to look at is some suggestions and some directions, and the difficulty we had with that is separating a suggestion and a direction when it's in the book. The other thing we was going to look at was questions. It's like, to give an example, if anyone's read the basic text with their sponsor, I'd be interested to know how many people have actually seen the bit which makes our fellowship very different. Anyone's seen the bit which is at the beginning of how it works, after the steps have been read, after the italics, it comes to a place where it actually asks some questions. This is before step 1. Now, what we found with a lot of people is they hadn't actually asked themselves those questions. And when we was doing in the sponsorship group at the time, what happened was, when we really asked people, especially when they were new, we were asking them to go away and think about it. Like, for example, the very first question that's there is, are we sure we want to stop using? Because if we don't answer that, you know, and it is, for some of us, it's in the past tense, but we really have to think about that question ourselves. Now, the problem we have, especially when we go to other fellowships, is the other fellowships tell us that we can't rely on our own thinking, which isn't right, because we're not mentally ill, we're just people whose perspectives slightly change. So, I'm going to point out now someone made up earlier.
I went through all the readings like that with my sponsor.
Did you?
Yeah.
Have you got sticky stars here?
And that's it.
Don't worry, James. We've had people who've been challenged before. Don't worry, you're in good company.
Yeah, just have to go through, highlighter, and then kind of write, highlight what stood out to
What's
me.
relevant,
and
what
then,
stood out.
Yeah. I find it really useful.
What we had was that.
I suggest you do it, James.
That's what we had at the beginning. That's what we started off with.
Okay.
Because we had 2 things going on. What we had was the Just for Today reading, and then the beginning of the Just for Today reading, it says to you what part of the basic text to look at, from the meditation book that you look at every morning. It tells you what part of the basic text to follow up on. And the other side was anything that relates to you. Well, that's what we do with the Bob B story, the I Found the Only NA Meeting in the World. When you read that book, anything that relates to you, you highlight, and what you find is that all of a sudden you're relating to this black gentleman who lives in California from 1953, you know, he's got absolutely nothing to do with your creed or culture, you know, and you're starting to relate because it's about, the early part is about getting an understanding on knowing you're an addict. Because there's two really important bits, and I'm jumping about a little bit here, there's two really important bits, because don't forget this book was born out of people who had gone through the AA text and then they'd added what they knew what worked as addicts. And one of the major things that's in both books is fully concede to our innermost self. It's in the AA book and it's in the NA book, and it's all about you fully concede to your innermost self, knowing that you have the illness of addiction. Knowing that you fully concede. Well, to fully concede, if you're in a battle and you're even your arse beaten and you concede, you basically surrender. Yeah. And to fully concede to your innermost self, to ask yourself what your innermost self is. The best explanation I ever heard of with that was a guy said, right down at my gut level, I knew I'd lost. You know, and that's the reason why I want to start this week with examples with step 2 and not step 1, because anyone who's like coming into the program want to do the steps again or go through anything like that, we're always fresh to the program. Step 1's not positive. When I'm sitting in a meeting, this is all my gear of course, I'm sitting in a meeting and someone says, oh, I've done my step 1, I feel brilliant. I think, you just spoke for 2 hours or half hour about complete and utter carnage and lack of control, and you know, it's just, why was that good? So I'd rather start with the step 2 stuff of power greater than ourselves, and we can go back to it. So
I was going to say, we don't miss that out though, do we?
no, not at all, not at all. This week is just a preliminary. You know, because I don't want to stand up here each week, I want to go through the book with you guys, so I'm trying to consolidate everything I say so we can get an idea of what you need to do, because I'm sorry James, but you're going to leave with homework. You can either leave and not come back again, or you can go and you'll have homework to do, which means you either pal up and get a buddy, or you can do it on your own. It doesn't matter, because if you do it on your own, we come back and do it as a group, or you can go away and do it as a buddy. When we did this, Aaron and I did it in Portsmouth. They did it in the prison down in Portsmouth, and people who don't have experience, 2 people who's never been through this before and don't have the wealth of experience, can do this together with each other because you cross-reference. Basically, we're going to be looking for suggestions and directions. So to just fast forward all of this, let's just go to step 2. Okay, so I just want to give you the absolute nuts and bolts of this. Okay, you guys on the, you got step 2? You at step 2?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, let me have a look at that. Same sheet, okay. Directions and suggestions. Okay, that's the first one we're going to do. The first we're looking for the direction, stroke suggestion. The direction is where to go or what to do. A road sign is a given direction. Anyone disagree with that?
What was that, Frankie?
You can follow it there, look. See this? To do it again, it was a direction is where to go and what to do. A road sign is a given direction. This is a personal one for me because I got threatened to be thrown out of one of the 8 treatment centres I went to when I put down that a direction could
Is that saying we know where to go to get help?
What's the direction mean?
Well, that's it, isn't
So like first sentence, the second step is necessary if we expect to achieve ongoing recovery. Is that
Okay.
right direction?
So,
That's a must.
Is
right,
that must?
Okay. right, so it's a good start, happens like this.
I'm going to show
Let's ask the question. No,
Go on,
it's
Sam.
good. No, it's good. It's good.
Come on, get out the corner, get in the go.
No, what I wanted was a general consensus. What's the direction? Are you all going to agree what a direction is?
We're going to talk what's the
Where to go, what to do.
Where to go, what to do, exactly.
Yeah.
If you stop someone in the street and you say to them, can you give me the directions? I know, it's not rocket science, it's going to be really stupid. Trust me.
So I get direction. So which is the first direction in the book? So actually,
Hold your horses there, boy. Hey, hold your horses.
Going into that.
Right. Right, so a suggestion is a polite direction of what to do, generally based on somebody's experience. If it isn't, it's conjecture. Do you guys get that?
Yeah.
Okay.
it? No, what does it conject to me?
Well, if you say to me, Frankie, I want to go down to HMV in Bath, and I say, walk straight on down Union Street, keep going, you'll see it down there on the left. Okay, I'm giving you a direction. If I say, I think it might be if you go down to the church down, but conjecture means that I'm not really sure, I'm making it up, I've got an idea. Well, in this is it's no good to us. And it's the same thing what happens in meetings. If you listen to meetings long enough and go to enough step meetings, you'll always hear someone who's been around a few years go, well, I think step 7 means this. It's like, when you've worked the steps, you don't think, you know it.
Yeah.
And it's just that simple. And what we work out here amongst ourselves is our experience. Nothing is verbatim, nothing is exact. We'll all have different takes on things, which is good. One of the major things about highlighting the books is when we come back the following weeks is we find that we highlight different things. And that's kind of when the magic happens, because that's when the discussion happens, because it's like, why did you do this? Or why did you do that? And some addicts get really bent out of shape when they highlight the wrong shit, so. Okay, I'll give you a direction from step 1. If you guys want to flick back to step 1, which is on page 19, the first paragraph. Okay, so I'm going to read this out. It says, it doesn't matter how much we used, in Narcotics Anonymous, staying clean has to come first. The reason why we pick the second part of that and not the first part, which is it doesn't matter what or how much we used. The second sentence being, in Narcotics Anonymous, staying clean has to come first. Because it's a direction. It's a direction. It's something when you're working with someone who's new and they're wanting to get involved and everything around the program, the main thing that we would say to the person, is don't do all this stuff, do your detox first. Don't distract yourself, read the stories, listen to the share tapes, but do your detox first. Get clean. It even says it a little bit further along. It says, they're pleased you attended, but go away and come back clean. It actually tells you that in the book, which is a direction.
Have I got to go then?
Not at all. Not at all.
Come back clean next week.
But what is just pointed out to you is what, according to Narcotics Anonymous, according to their book, your main job is about getting detox.
It is, yeah.
That's your main job.
It is, yeah.
Because there's a lot of really well-meaning, I think we had this talk, with a lot of really well-meaning drug workers They want to keep people on Subutex
Yeah.
for like 3 years and shit.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, why would you smoke half a silk cut for 3 years? You know, it doesn't. So I'm not judging them. I'm just saying you have to ask the questions. You know, and as it says in it works. In how it works, it says if you want what we offer and are willing to make the effort to get it, then you're ready. It doesn't say you have to be clean, it just says you're ready. You know, so when you start asking the questions, when you start asking, you titration and you want to be taken down and you want to come off and you want to start doing stuff, the whole mental attitude, which is the program, changes. So, but that's the step. That's the kind of the step one stuff. Let's do that. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
So the must word. Okay, so you're getting the gist, because the direction in step 2, jumping forward again, is, because it says it up there on the board, it says, the second step is necessary if we expect to achieve ongoing recovery. Now, that's the direction. That's the direction. It's not a suggestion, it's a direction. It's saying that once we've got the understanding that step 1 is our thinking is unmanageable, fucked, unmanageable, and if we understand really, really clearly what powerless means, does anyone want to expand on powerless? I'm not asking about what step 1 means, I just want the word powerless.
Doing something that you don't want to do?
No. This is something which you find people fall into. I'm really pleased you said that, thanks for that. Someone else, Alison.
You just cannot stop.
That's good.
With that power.
There you go. I knew you'd knock that on the head. Cool.
I'm going to shout.
I know.
Don't
But see, powerlessness, the word which we're asking about, powerless means no power. So if you look at it, if we admitted that we were powerless over our addiction, we're powerless, you know. So when we come to the second step, where it says we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity, okay, the second step, the direction is necessary if we're to achieve ongoing recovery. It's probably one of the most important steps. You get a lot of people kind of showboat about a lot of the steps, but it's probably one of the most important steps, step 2. It tells us there it is.
It says it in the first line, doesn't it?
Yeah. And the reason why I've highlighted in the must words is because when you go through the book, I've forgotten the statistics, there's a certain amount of must words, and must are words of what you must do if you're to follow the program. So when you hear people say I'm working my program, well, it gives you a chance to actually understand what the program is. The program's totally down to yourself what you take on board. So, for example, must words. For example, coming from this sheet from here, which I wrote out, we need to breathe, we must breathe, had to breathe. They're all must words because you'll always find them in a direction. And they're all commands. They're all telling you to do something. The reason we use the word breathe is to make it show how important it actually is. You know, and I know it sounds a little bit schooly. You know, page 2, page 20 of the basic text, if we go back a page, if we go back a page to page 20 of the basic text, to the 4th paragraph down, and the 3rd line.
What edition?
6.
Near the 6th, James, have you brought your baby blue?
Yeah.
What our ability to control our usage of drugs.
We go to the 4th paragraph, line 3.
Over addiction as well.
I've actually written it on the white bit on the piece of paper. It says we need to admit this fact
in
in order to recover. and the emphasis is on the need, with the need being a must word. So, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now, if we go back to just the line before, it says we're powerless not only drugs but over our addiction as well. And this is the cut and paste bit where it says we need to admit this fact in order to recover. To admit we're powerless, the only option we have next is to ask for help. And the help and the direction takes you towards step 2. Okay, so I'm going to come back onto this one with step 2, which is we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. With the step 2, there's many different takes on it. You'll hear lots of people need to say they're mad. You go, I'm mad, mate, I'm mad. Or you wouldn't want to be inside my head, or you wouldn't want my thinking, or all that. It's like, that's got nothing to do with what the programme's implying. You know, and there's an awful lot of people who do go, I'm clean and crazy, and all the rest of it. That's all really nice and entertaining, but it's not actually what the programme's going on about. When it says restore us to sanity, what they actually imply, and you'll see when you go through the book what it says from the book, this ain't my words, is the restoration to sanity is not using. So to be sane is to not use, because an insane thing for an addict to do is to use. The moral psychology doesn't start till after step 4. So with step 2, a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Now, the power, as they ask us, it says our understanding of a higher power is up to us. No one is going to decide for us. We can call it the group, we can call it the program, or we can call it God. The only suggested guidelines is this power be loving, caring, and greater than ourselves. That fucking confuses the arse out of a lot of people who are fresh in the program, because also they've all of a sudden given 3 different choices with it. The main thing what I do with people that are new is, if we've got a book which has been put together by thousands of addicts with everything of suggestions that work, because they didn't put stuff in it that didn't work, even though I do find some stuff in it that doesn't apply to me. What I found in the book is there's an awful lot of directions of what works, you know. And when they say we can call it the program, just to take it back to the geeky stuff, if someone tells you they're working a program, okay, this doesn't apply to the 3rd edition, because they only started doing this when they got to the 6th edition, and they actually had a big meeting at the World Conference Board about this. They added, this is how nuts they are, which is kind of good for us. The first time they added in the book, which was our program, it's Basic Sex and Narcotics Anonymous. That's the program of Narcotics Anonymous. You hear a lot of people tell you about the program, a program, or they work a program, but to just make it clear, our program is the beginning of the part of the basic text, which again is only that thick. Okay, so that's the program Narcotics Anonymous. Of course it expands, there's lots of other stuff. We've got the green and gold, we've got Living Clean book, we've got the brown book of DNA Step 4. I don't know if many people have seen that or done it.
Before the symbols.
So
Before the symbols, is it? After the symbols.
After the symbol, yeah.
after the symbol,
Why is
yeah.
that then?
Because as far as I understand the symbol is not actually part of the program. The symbol is part of the blurb showing what it is.
Yeah.
It's a logo. It's not a. The logo isn't the program. They kind of. It's a little bit like I don't know enough of it. I'm not that
But
experienced.
our
it's
program
that-
derived from the logo.
Pardon?
Our program is the, you know.
No, the programs that the logo came after is being devised by it. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the difference between if you go to, like for example, if you get a white book and you go to the service office, it's real geeky stuff. They'll give you the choice of even in a white book or an anglicised version.
Yeah.
I think
You know, because of the phrasing.
That's right. Because we think we would have thought that one of the most important things would have been in the beginning, you know, with the program, our program with the symbols, then, you know.
It's interesting. We can definitely we'll go over it how the weeks go on. We'll go over it. But what's interesting about it, if you think about the program where it came from, which was the AA program, and if you understand with the AA program originally, the alcoholics actually paid some money to hire a room because they were sick of the fucking addicts. They wanted to get them out of the meeting and get them into the AA meeting, get them into their own meeting because the addicts were driving them mad, going keep popping all these sleepers.
They do that
all
now.
the alcoholics are going, I'm alright with taking me sleeping tablets, you know, it's like, leave me sleeping tablets alone. You know? I take them at 10 o'clock in the morning. But what's interesting is the AA symbol is one side of the triangle, which we become the pyramid, don't we, with a round base, which is a bit, as it says, it's a cult. Occult. Not a cult, occult. Concentrating on the must words, the next one down, which is need. What's going to happen with the homework, guys?
On step 2.
On step 2, I'm pointing the board up there on step 2.
The whole step doing,
Pardon?
just doing them 3, is that what we've got to do?
What? Yeah. Well, I'm going to.
No.
Yeah, it's too easy. isn't it?
It's on page 4.
Say again?
It's only a page, so it'll be okay.
Sorry? Didn't catch you.
It's only one page, you'll be alright.
You'll be alright.
Don't give me 3 pages.
Okay. No, I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible so that when you come back next week, if you come back, you'll be really confused. So, with the second must word is on the first paragraph down, or is that the second paragraph? That's the first paragraph, isn't it? The first step has left a vacuum in our lives.
Yeah.
That's the people who wrote the book together. All the first step. It's not people didn't write back from the group and send that in saying the first step has left a vacuum in our lives. It doesn't make any fucking sense. You know? They've done that to glue it together. Look, this is the direction. We need to find something that will fill the void. This is the purpose of the second step. Not only does it tell you why it does it, it also tells you the reason for the second step. But the main part of it, while we're looking for a must word, is we need to find something to fill the void. So the question is, in the interactive workshop that we're doing here, this preliminary interactive workshop is, what void are we talking about?
The emptiness that the drugs are like.
That's good.
Yeah, the internal.
Yeah.
Speak up.
The internal.
The internal void. Do we have an internal void?
Oh God,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyone else? Does anyone? I'm not putting you guys under pressure, I'm just seeing who comes out with what, because for myself, I have exactly what all you lot have said. When I stopped using, I started on sweets.
Yeah. I've got loads of bags of sweets this week.
Keep coming back, it gets bigger, yeah.
It's not every time it says need or necessary.
Yes,
That's what we've got to worry
It's
about.
not,
for next
no.
that's what you're going to have to look for.
Right, because there's loads of them
steps.
that you haven't highlighted.
Yeah,
Okay, right.
there's shitloads.
So-
I haven't
so-
highlighted.
What for all the steps?
When it says needs and plain needs,
Sorry.
when it says needs and that's direction and suggestions, yeah?
Right.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused. What is the difference
Right.
between a direction and a must word?
Okay, no, right, I'll clarify. A direction and a suggestion, the reason why we call them direction and suggestions is because in our experience of doing this for 10 years, we've never been able to separate what is a direction or a suggestion. I myself haven't been able to do it. The other guys who've done this book study with us, and there's been like over 150 and loads of us from all different places that have done it, we can't separate suggestions and directions. So we just put the two together, so it's a suggestion or a direction. So there's a suggestion, direction, all in yellow. Okay? Now,
Must.
with a must word is something you must do. So for example, you must breathe. It's necessary that you breathe. You need to breathe. Can you see? So if it's that important, a must.
So needed help. Is that a
Well,
must?
that's the discussion part. I wouldn't put needed help down. I wouldn't put that as a must word.
Would you put the need for health, the need where it says
Need for faith
faith and
and sanity.
sanity because of the
What
way it's
page are
written?
you looking at?
So just next bit down. So after we needed help with our drug problem, many of us would not admit to the need for help. The way it's written, would you put it down?
Of course, that's a must word.
Yeah.
Of course. That's
That's
Yeah.
the must
Just the
word.
way it's written, you could
Yeah.
kind of divert you on
It's
side.
ran the wrong way, isn't it? Wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
just the way it's written,
Yeah.
kind of could
That's
divert.
them yanks, isn't it?
So we need
So
to
that-
many of us would not admit to the need.
So you guys get that? And
Yeah.
that is part of the deliberate mistake.
Yeah, I see.
When I was doing
That's kind of, it could be overlooked because of the way it's written.
Yeah.
And that's the whole, that's because when I was thinking about doing this workshop, and especially when I knew Paula was coming, she was coming with some people, and because the different people I've done this workshop with, I've done this with people, this workshop with people whose first language isn't English. That's quite hard. I've also done this workshop with loads of people where no one's got over 6 months clean, and they're all blokes, and everyone keeps talking at the same time. It's very different. It's really nice, this workshop at the moment, what we're doing. And with a must word, the trick what I was going to do, because I thought I'd throw in the extra one, which we learned earlier on, really obvious, which was, man, we got it there, which was on the bottom of the list.
You should be organised.
Should be, but I'm not.
That's because you're an addict.
Is at the bottom? No, it's not. It's because I'm just unmanageable. It's God words. Okay?
Alright.
So, a God word is, as it says in here, it says power, higher power, strength, prayer, program, guidance.
In here, in the
On the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Now that's just an additional task. If you're able to do the must words, if you're able to find the must words, one of the things that can help you along with it is actually highlighting in a different colour, is the God words. Now, when I originally did this and we went through it, there was 4 of us, we went through and we counted them all up afterwards, we actually discovered there's more, God's mentioned more times in the basic text than it is in any other 12-step recovery literature, more than the big book. And to have a God of your understanding, they obviously make it very important. You know, so
Are God words the same colour as the must word?
No.
up to you.
Okay.
Totally up to you. I like different colours. Sometimes I underline them. But I've thrown that in. The reason why I've thrown that in was because we would not admit our need for faith and sanity. So sanity is not using, okay, for us. Sanity, as far as it's concerned in NA, is to not use. There's many other versions of what's sane and insane, and the more you start looking at addiction, I'm just keeping it at the beginning of it. You know, I'm not going to talk about our obsession and compulsion in other areas. But the need for faith and sanity let's have a 2-minute discussion about faith. Yeah?
Just before that, would you put a direction or suggestion in the bit we came to believe? Would you do it on the heading of the step as well? Because when I've always kind of really highlighted the wording on the step, you know, we came, right, okay, done it with trust. Because came has been one of the most important
In
words.
this book originally, all the God words were in orange.
Right,
Okay.
okay.
Okay? Because it's changed. It's changed, you know. So
Yeah.
what I did with this, that book 3 books back, when I was looking for God stuff, where my head was at the time, I was looking at the 12-step program being the God-given program. So anything which was to do with the steps, I was highlighting as God words, you know. Power greater. See, the power greater than me is the book, because in the book it has the suggestions and the directions of what an addict should do. And that's what I'm focusing.
But the step 2 also suggests we have power.
No, we need to get.
I have power, but I need that a bit more power to restore me to sanity, as in I would not use, or you know. So it also suggests I have power, also have power, because it's power greater than me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Not so. Because
can you clarify?
Overcoming the powerlessness, because it would not say power greater than me, or it would say something greater than me.
Yeah.
It wouldn't say power. It would not say. So it also suggests I also have power, but not sufficient enough.
There you go. Lack of power is our dilemma.
Not
to
sufficient.
quote
It
an
also
old
suggests I
phrase,
have
yeah.
some power, but not sufficient enough for me to overcome my addiction.
Yeah.
So not.
I have power in other areas.
Yeah.
I have a certain amount of
It
power
also
over
suggests that
results.
I do have power, but not
Yeah.
enough.
I have a certain amount of power over, you know,
Yeah.
people at the bank. You know? So
Yeah.
it's all measures of the understanding of what power is. That's why when it comes along and it talks about would not admit the need for faith and sanity, okay, it's talking about power greater than ourselves. And when we're talking about faith, this is the bit which I like to open up with, because what we're referring to in step 2 is a power greater than ourselves. Now, the power which we want in step 2 is an answer. Because basically, step 2 is, I need help. What can I do? Because if I'm powerless in step 1 and my life's unmanageable, step 2 has to be, it can't be anything else but a power greater than ourselves, is a direction from the book.
Talk to another addict.
You can do, you can speak to loads of addicts, and some of them have got some really good suggestions, but I don't know if it will actually help you with recovery unless, and this is the bit which we lead on to from here for faith. I'll give a little example. If Rod's car's not working, and he comes to me and he says, Frankie, my car's not working, and I say to him, go to James's garage, okay? And he's like, well, why should I go to James's garage? Well, I say, I have faith in James's garage because I took my car there, okay? Now, he has no faith in his garage, okay?
Is he really a mechanic? I could use a mechanic.
I think he's a mechanic, but not a garage mechanic. And so, to nutshell it, basically is you're trusting me. It's trust. It's not faith, it's trust. Now, if you trust me enough to take your car to James and he fixes your car and it's working, and somebody comes along to you and says, oh wow, where did you get your car fixed? You can say with faith, because it's experience-based, go to James, he fixed my car for me. And if you speak to me, I can say my experience is based in faith, because I have living proof
Yeah.
that he can fix my car. So the point being is, okay, is clarifying with faith. Many of us would not admit the need for faith and sanity, because then we come on to the next bit, which gives us the direction again. It says, we have a disease progressing, incurable and fatal. Now, if we've got a disease, we really need to go to something, which would be the literature, which is based in what works. It's a little bit like that thing, you know, have you ever heard the thing about the people when they have a heart condition, they go to hospital? And when they go to hospital with their heart condition, they give them a choice. They say you can have the operation, you can either have the surgeon who's been doing it for 20 odd years, who's in his late 60s, or you can have this dynamic new guy who's just out of college and all the rest of it. Which one would you like to do your heart operation? Choice is yours, mate. An open heart surgery, who would you like? Most of the time, most people pick the 65-year-old guy with the shaky hands, because he's been doing it for 20 odd years. So the whole point of the faith bit and the power greater than ourselves is to point to people who have experience around the literature and who talk to you in the language of, this is what I've done.
Yeah.
I don't know if this will work for you. And I think the most poignant part for this for me when I was learning this stuff is going up to other addicts, and I would ask them about something and they would say, either I have no opinion on that or I have no experience. I think that's big. Because nearly every addict, even if you test them and go out and ask people, every addict you ask, you know, they always have an opinion on something. You know, if you go out and ask some addicts, you know, what's the best way to work the steps? They'll tell you millions of different ways of how to do it. All you need to know is, what did you do? What worked for you? That's basically it. So, would you guys like to pick out any other on that? I think I've highlighted it where it says insanity is repeating the same mistakes and expecting different results. Is that direction? Would you say that's a direction?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely is.
Because I get stuck thinking it's a suggestion.
No, it's a direction. It's
So it's a bit of a fact. We couldn't have enough. We couldn't stick another one up for facts, you know. So it's a direction. It's directing you towards that. Even though you might not be listening, but if you do this thing over and over again, expecting different result. We've done this before, you know. So it's a direction. Definitely a
I
direction.
think it's more of a statement. I think it's
Yeah,
a statement
an
of
explanation,
fact,
isn't it?
Yeah, you reckon?
rather than. Well, it's a direction. If you reverse it, it's directing you to stop repeating the same mistakes, and
Yeah.
you might get.
Yeah.
You might change your ways, but it's not a direct direction. I don't think.
I think what might help us here is if we ask ourselves the question, what's insanity?
What was that question you said?
Is the
Is that question? Is that direction
is
or
it
suggestion?
a question? Is it a direction or a suggestion?
What?
The one repeating insanity over and over again.
Insanity is repeating the same mistakes and expecting different results. If you do Facebook, they'll show you pictures of Einstein quoting it and all the rest of it. And if you look on my one, you'll see, you know,
I
other
guess when you
people
look at
quoting
the
it.
first three words,
Because Einstein didn't quote it.
insanity is repeating. If you look at the first three words, then you could say it's.
When you say the first three words,
Insanity is.
the insanity is repeating the same mistakes. So, what is insanity?
Use it.
Using, yeah, exactly. Excuse me.
Well,
Using.
we'd established that directions and suggestions were the same thing.
Yeah.
You put insanity or not. It
Alison, speak up. Can't hear you.
I thought we suggestions were pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. Right, pardon?
It doesn't matter then. It's important.
So it's a statement and a
direction or a
direction. It's
suggestion.
the same thing.
Suggestion.
No, not suggestion, it's statement.
A direction and a suggestion.
No, direction is a statement.
I think
We didn't bring a statement up, James.
I did.
You
I
would
did.
like to give a statement.
I did.
Even if you look at the sentence before, come before that, so for it to be properly judged in a way, or
No, I was just reading the highlight bit, so I'll try and get the direction.
by itself it doesn't really
Well,
go anywhere.
I disagree, because if you put insanity is,
What?
I agree with you.
So we can hear.
yeah.
So I agree with it.
I think if you look at the first, insanity is repeating. I think that feels like that's telling you exactly, that is directing you and telling you
So the
what
statement is not
insanity
direction.
is. So that feels like it's directive because it's saying insanity is repeating, and then it's telling you what insanity is.
But it's
That's
not.
the same
But
as
it's
like we
not.
have a disease progressive.
So that for me feels like it's directive.
Because it being directive, yeah,
But then
because
what's it directing you to do? Is it a direction?
It's not directing you to do anything, it's a directive in the sense it's telling you what insanity is.
Okay.
So for me, the direction,
Okay,
the
yeah,
direction is not
insanity
repeating.
is repeating the same mistakes in that
So
sentence.
That's it.
No, in that sense.
let me
it
just
feels
let me just stop you guys on
if
that,
makes
right?
sense.
Yeah, that does.
You guys are making 100% sense, and that is the whole point of this.
Yeah.
When you go through it, it's to work out.
If I just read it as
If
one,
that-
I can see why
Right.
it doesn't feel directive. But if I look at the first three words, it
Yeah, that does make sense.
What I'm
Yeah.
interested in
Yeah.
is if I go to step 2 in here, what's it down the bottom there? Yeah, I've underlined it. When we first did it, we didn't have it as a suggestion, as a direction, because what happens is your opinion and your outlook changes when you come back to this. Or if you're doing it with someone else, you can get swayed with it. The whole point of it being insanity is repeating the same states and expecting different results, full stop. This is actually a statement. But for us to make the definition between where it's suggestion or a direction, it's just letting us know basically that it's a poignant line, that's all. And that's all we're highlighting, because when we get to certain bits of it, if you look between the last one and
Yeah,
what
yeah.
we're doing, when all of a sudden it gets, you know,
The whole
we have,
the whole lot is obviously doom and gloom until it's telling you that the end is gonna die, you know, because you're gonna repeat, if you repeat the same mistake. So if you read the whole paragraph beforehand and you come to that bit, it's obviously asking me or giving me directions. It's asking
exactly. And like if we just jump back to the bit we get before it, this bit is actually unnecessary to a certain extent.
Yeah.
You know, because what it is conjecture when we read through it. You know, the price may seem higher for the addict who prostitutes for the fix than the addict who merely lies to a doctor. It's just filler. Because what we need to really understand is when they first wrote the steps, that's all they wrote. Everything after that is what the addicts have put in from how they saw it or how they see it. So that's why when it comes down to us, we're part of the hive, if you like, the hive mind. We have to make our own decisions. All we want to do is take out the book, which is poignant for us and what works for us and what can help us. Step 1 and step 2, because step 1's boring and not good news. Step 2 is just basically a signpost saying do this, do that. As I say, the rest of all this happens as you move on with it, because it changes perspective on how you see things. Move on to the next page. We've highlighted this where it says, ask yourself this question, because it is a direction, it is a statement, isn't it? Ask yourself this question.
Do I believe it would be a time to walk up to someone and say, no, please have a heart attack?
or a fatal accident.
Yeah, that is insanity.
Yeah.
God,
And the reason I put that there was just to highlight that it's a question. So what I started off saying, if we can go back, and because of our time constraints and what I'm looking at, I'd like to just come back now and just go to a bit more of an open discussion around the first questions in